Jones's excitement level is high.
I'm a big gymnastics fan. What do you want from me?
Bart Connor is here, and so is JoJo Valahovic, who just had a great meet for the Tar Heel gymnast on Friday night against NC State. She's an individual event champion for the first time in her Carolina career. Not the last, I say, Jones.
Nope.
But JoJo, thanks so much for coming by.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
So tell us about the meet on Friday night.
I personally think that we, as a team, did great. Like, we got our highest season score so far. Obviously, we keep building. And I think everyone did awesome. Our practice is paying off, and we just keep getting better.
All right, so this is your first year. Just take us through kind of the college experience for you so far. What has this been like, trying to balance school and gymnastics and all of it?
Personally, I think the change from, like, club and high school to here has not been too hard for me, especially coming early in the summer. We had some time to adjust, but I have had a great time here, and it is a lot of time management with school and gymnastics, obviously, but I like all of it and the chaos, and it's going great.
Okay, I don't think people understand this about gymnastics. And I'm not saying, like, obviously every sport has its challenges physically, right? Like, gymnastics is hard on your body.
Very.
So how do you try and make sure that you are as physically good to go as you possibly can be? Because the hours that are put in, the things that these athletes are doing it is not normal. So how do you try and make sure that you're at the top of your game?
We do spend a lot of times in Stallings, which is our rehab center.
Yeah.
Doing a lot of rehab. Our trainers might get a little annoyed with us, but yeah, we spend a lot of time there just making sure we do a lot of rehab and making sure, like, our bones and muscles are doing good. And cold tubs are our best friend. But yeah, and a lot of, like, eating right is a big part of it too. So, like, our training table, I try and go every day, and sometimes for breakfast after weights, but I don't like getting up early. But yeah, and then just making sure we're, like, fueling through practice and everything.
How many hours a day do y'all practice?
On a normal day, it's 4, and then on a day that we have weights, it's about 3. And
how about when you were coming, like, how many hours a day when you were doing club stuff and stuff? How many hours a day were you practicing?
It's about the same.
Yeah, I mean, so we're at 4 hours a day, every single day.
I heard her.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, it's just a lot.
So what time are you lifting if you're lifting before breakfast?
8 a.m.
Ooh, is that tough?
Not really, because we all have classes usually right after, so we have to be up anyway.
Yeah.
But on some days, like today, we have weights after practice, so we have our 3-hour practice and then weights after.
What kind of weights do you do for gymnastics? Like, it doesn't seem like it would necessarily. I mean, I'm guessing you're not up there like throwing up a bench press. So, like,
yeah, we are.
Okay, so what kind of weight stuff are you doing?
We're doing a lot of, like, sports-specific training, so a lot of, like, mobility stuff, and then we do some strength stuff. So we do bench pressing and front squat, back squat, like, all the typical stuff too.
You know what we should do for a video piece, Adam? We should have you go and try to lift weights with the gymnastics team and see what happens.
They would dominate me.
Well,
have you ever seen, like, JoJo appears to be very nice and sweet, but secretly she's a killer.
Yeah.
And she would get me in the weight room and be like, all right, we're going to do what I normally do. And I'd be like, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, we should do that. I got in the field hockey goal.
That's true, you did. Jones stopped some shots in goal.
Really?
Yeah.
You should come practice with us. Get on the beam. Do some flips.
Oh, now let's
let's be careful. Far. Could I walk on the beam? How intimidating is the beam? My daughter does gymnastics, so I'm in it. I see it. Like, I get nervous watching the beam.
Personally, beam's my favorite event. So
that's crazy to me.
It's not too intimidating to me, and I feel like just growing up doing gymnastics, you get used to it. Like, 4 inches wide and 3 feet off the floor. Like, it's kind of routine at this point.
Sure. Why is that your favorite event?
I don't even know. It's just...
You're just used to it?
Yeah, I just like it, and, like, the challenge that it is, like, because a lot of people don't like it.
Sure.
And people think it's the hardest event, but I think that beam is the easiest to be consistent on because it's kind of, you need to think of the same things for every skill. At least I do. So I just really like it.
How did you first figure out that you were good at, like, throwing your body off of things and around things?
My parents just put me in gymnastics when I was little. Well, actually, I started in dance, and then I did both, and I had to pick between the two because they're like, that's too much.
Yeah.
And so after I chose gymnastics, at a certain age, they were like, okay, you're either continuing this or quitting, because obviously it's expensive and it's a lot of time to put towards it. But I just really loved it and kept going with it, and here I am.
I was going to ask you that because I do think a lot of young gymnasts, like my impression of this, a lot of young girls like doing gymnastics because it's fun and you're doing all kind of crazy stuff. But it comes to a point where it's like, okay, I'm either going to do this or I'm not doing this anymore. Right. What was it about it that said for you that you said, you know what? I think I do love this enough to keep going, because that's not an easy decision to make.
Right. I loved watching college gymnastics growing up, and I've always wanted to do college gymnastics. So I kind of just had that mindset and motivation to get to that point. And so when my parents were like, yeah, it's either this or you're quitting, then I was like, no, I have to stick with it and get to here.
So if it was something you had always wanted to do, what was it like the first time walking out there at Carmichael and all those girls are screaming your name and you're actually doing it?
It was very exciting. I was obviously nervous at first, but I think it's really fun, and the energy in Carmichael and all the fans, it's a great experience, and it's one of my favorite places on campus now.
So Adam and I were talking about this at some point during the podcast, or maybe we will talk. Maybe people haven't heard this part yet.
I don't think we've talked about this yet,
but
Joseph,
we will talk about this soon when people hear it. This is becoming a very popular sport to watch. I think. So you said that when did you said you watched it on TV? I think that's the Friday Night Heights and all this stuff. I feel like that's relatively new. But have you, I don't know, have you felt that growth in the sport, I guess is the question I'm trying to ask you. Have you seen some more people, just kind of general fans, really start to take interest?
I think definitely yes. It has grown a lot. When I was younger, all my friends would be like, what? What's gymnastics? Blah, blah. Obviously, they knew what gymnastics was. But I think now, you run into more people. Me and my one teammate were going to class the other day, and some girls stopped us and were like, oh, you guys are on the gymnastics team. We're like, oh yeah. So I feel just more people have the awareness of the sport, and it's a lot more on social media too. Just a lot of people posting it with all the Olympic gymnasts going to college now, and yeah, I think it just gets a lot more people to see the sport, and I think it's great. More people seeing us and how great the sport is.
You've got a big road trip coming up this week going to Stanford. That's a long plane trip. What's your go-to on a long plane trip?
Well, I would probably be watching Netflix, but I do have a lot of schoolwork this week, so my 7-hour plane ride will probably be me doing schoolwork and sleeping. If
you were watching Netflix, what would you be watching?
Gossip Girl, 100%.
Oh.
That's an interesting statement. Gossip Girl's now on in my house a lot, Adam. We're deep into Gossip Girl, so I know all about it. What's where he always says, I'm
Chuck Bass.
Chuck Bass. Thank you. Yeah, very much. Yeah, thank you. I'm Chuck Bass. I'm Chuck Bass, Adam. Just remember that.
There's not one moment that I know what's going on in this interview.
Tell us a little bit about your background. Why was Carolina the right choice? Just tell us a little bit about what has gotten you to this point.
Well, sorry, Mom and Dad, I wanted to get away from home.
Don't listen to this part, Mom and Dad.
I'm from Ohio, so there's not much to do in Ohio. And I wanted to go to a bigger school and somewhere where I would compete and thrive as a gymnast and student. So my mom always told me to pick a school where even if I wasn't doing gymnastics, I'd still be happy. And so I ended up choosing Carolina because the athletics are great, the academics are great, and the people are great, and I loved it here.
It feels like, again, people will hear this in a minute. I feel like this team, Carolina in total, is pretty deep, or at least deeper than it's been the last couple of years. The roster depth is there. There's a lot of good gymnasts on Carolina is my point. Some of them are young, like yourself. What is that competition like? What are your practices like? Is there a competitive aspect to it among the team, or how does that work?
I think there is a little competitive aspect among the team just because you're fighting for a spot in lineups and keeping your spot in lineups, but the end of the day, it's not up to you and it's up to the coaches. So it kind of just depends how you do that week or how consistent you've been before, like leading up to the meet. And so, but I think like we don't talk about lineups in practice, which I think is really good because like people can get like mad and upset, but it's just depending on your training and how you're doing. And the coaches just obviously want what's best for the team. So yes, there's the competitive aspect, but everyone obviously wants the team to do good. So, yeah.
This is an individual sport, but you are on a team. How do you balance that? Like you want, like if it was up to JoJo, she'd be on all 4 of them every single time and she'd be out there. So how do you balance that of the individual side of it, but also the team side of it?
I think it's easier to think of it as a team event, especially coming from club, because club is very individual. Like you want to win, you want to get recruited, whatever. But here it's more like you want your team to do good so that you keep like competing against better teams and getting to like regionals and nationals. So I honestly don't think it's very much of an individual sport, just because like, yes, you still want to win, but it's more of like you want to help your team win.
What was Alabama like? So Alabama, one of the standard bearers in the sport right now. You guys were there for the first meet. What was that like?
It was really fun. We were a little nervous going into our first meet, but our coaches like kept telling us because obviously Alabama is ranked very well, but we are right up there with them, and we have some like the same difficulty as them, and it's just like execution-wise, like we're very well, we have very well execution of our skills, and so we just went in with a lot of confidence and motivation to like compete well and show them what we got too.
In our pre-interview production meeting, we were told that you're a twin.
I am a twin, yes.
Yeah. What's that like?
Is it identical twin or fraternal twin?
Very fraternal.
Okay.
Very fraternal. Like, there's no question.
It actually, Adam is JoJo's twin.
We look nothing alike.
What do you got? Do you still have like the mind thing? Like, you know how twins are always like finishing each other's sentence? Like, do you have that?
Twin telepathy? Yeah, we do sometimes.
Really?
Yeah, we'll say the same things at the same time, or yeah, like we'll be thinking the same things, and it's crazy actually.
Brother or sister? Sorry.
Sister.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so where's she?
Ohio State.
Ooh.
Man.
Does she do gymnastics?
No, absolutely not. She used to.
Okay.
Man.
She used to, but no. She's taller, so she did volleyball.
Wow. A volleyball player and a gymnast.
Yeah. Very fraternal, Adam.
Very fraternal. But there's twins on the Carolina gymnastics team.
Yes, Ellie and Nev. I love them.
Who are identical.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
They do look alike. I mean, they're
very identical.
Very identical.
Yes.
Do you get them confused?
No. I did at first, like when I first committed, and I only saw them on social medias. But once I came in the summer, it was like, I think like being a twin, it's easier to tell twins apart. So,
like you have a special something. It's like I understand that.
Yeah. We're all just living the twin life. We all know.
Have you noticed anything different? Like, do you have like twin talk where you're like, so what's that like being there? I'm a fraternal twin. Let's compare notes.
No, not at all, actually.
Yeah. Good question.
That's not what twins do,
Yeah.
Jones.
Yeah. Good question, Adam. What do you like to do when you're not flipping around and doing gymnastics?
Well,
I know you don't have a lot of time. You don't have a lot of time to do anything.
Right.
else.
Well, I have to do my schoolwork.
Sure.
I don't like to do my schoolwork.
That's come up a couple times.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, just keeping my grades up, and then me and my friends like to hang out a lot and watching Netflix again.
Oh, yeah. Gossip Girl. I'm Chuck Bass.
Yeah. Other than that, not much.
Okay, what needs to happen as you guys move forward here to continue to improve as a team? I think, if I'm not mistaken, every score's been better every meet so far. So how do you keep that progress as you go forward?
I think we just need to keep trusting in our training. Like, we're having some really good practices and just focusing on the little things. And we're really just keep building as a team, like our scores and just us personally. Like, all our skills, we're very clean, like in our gymnastics. And I think if we just take that and put it in our competitions, like we're going to have a really great season. And we already have so far.
I wanted to ask you, I meant to ask you this earlier. We've had Julia Noer on before. Now, this is like a year or two ago. She seems a little like a wild card to me. Like, she could be a little bit crazy. Can she be a little bit crazy?
Yes.
Yeah, she just seems like a little bit of a loose cannon. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, but I love her. I was
Yeah.
talking to her before.
Yeah. Like if JoJo was ever in trouble, which I can't imagine would ever happen.
No.
Like she would need Julia Noah like to have her back, and I feel like she would have it.
Oh, I think if I was going to get in a fight,
Yeah.
I'd want Julia Noah on my side.
Oh, me too. 100%.
Hey, don't get in a fight with a gymnast. Adam. They can do crazy. You wouldn't see stuff coming. Like all of a sudden you get a kick to the face. You wouldn't even know what was happening. All right, so Carolina and Stanford, right? And when is that?
Friday.
Friday. On ACC Network, I bet. I hope.
Yes.
Yeah, see, JoJo says yes.
I think
Are
so.
you wearing so
Oh, yeah.
little note.
Yeah.
So JoJo was in here last week, so we have met prior to this.
Yes.
She was in here because were you doing like social media stuff with the new Leos? Is that what you're doing? Right?
Yes.
Okay. So but no one else knew about the new Leos other than you.
Right.
And they were gonna show the team later that day. Is that what ended up happening?
Yes.
What was the response?
We were all really excited. They put it in our locker rooms after practice, and we had to wait outside the door. So we were all
Like Christmas morning.
right. They were all like, because they tried to trick us to telling us. We got new like plaques in our locker room of like some of our donors, and so they tried to trick us and tell us that we had to take pictures in front of the plaques. But some of the girls caught on, and they were like, we wouldn't have to wait outside the locker room if we had to take a picture.
Yeah, new plaque. Here,
So-
guys, get excited. Here's a new plaque with some names of some donors on it. That's not quite as exciting.
You know
Right.
who I bet caught on? Julia Noah.
Yeah.
She's like, I know what's up with this. You're not fooling Noah. Did you act surprised? Because
Yes.
you were supposed to act like you hadn't seen him. Did you pull it off?
I tried to. I think so.
Show us what you did.
That was a good surprise face. That was a good surprise face. Go ahead, Adam.
If you were like, I assume this Leo is the peak of all Leos, but if you were going to design one for Carolina, what would you do?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think we have some really good colors in like the Targyle, sorry. And
Yeah.
like I think I would maybe do another navy Leo with some white and probably the ram head again because
What
I
about
really
the foot?
like
Do
that.
you like the foot? Or do you like the ram head?
No. the
Oh,
ram head.
Down on the
ram
foot.
head way over the foot.
What about old school Ramhead? I really like the old school Ramhead.
Yes, I do. And I think adding the sparkles onto the ram head was a really great touch. We all really like the Leo, but I think I would probably do something similar with more sparkles. I love sparkles, but we do have a lot of sparkles on all of our Leos.